we're doing something new and exciting. If you're familiar with my channel, I love creating character designs and making goofy magical girl art. Another form of design I've been loving lately is 3D modeling. I love the process of making something and then printing it into the real world. It's just so cool. I've been wanting to do a 3D design video for my channel, but nothing was really calling to me. Until May 30th, 2025. From the moment I saw this Miku design, I knew I just had to make a little figure of it. I am obsessed with her little music note twin tails and the colors and just everything about it. I think it's just such a unique Miku design in an ever-growing landscape of Mikus. So, come along with me as we create a figure from start to finish of Static Miku. Don't change that dial, cause this is definitely gonna take a while. Let's go! Step 1 is going to be modeling the figure. My software of choice is Blender, but I know there's lots of different options for 3D design software out there. Using images from the video, I load them into Blender as a reference so we could start roughing in the model right on top of it. This part is actually a lot like drawing or painting, starting with larger shapes and slowly refining them. I knew I wanted to give her 2 different faceplates so that she could have her cute smiley face and the shadowy, more spooky face. I originally wanted to make the faceplates connect to the head through a sculpt piece, but I ended up switching to magnets much later in the process. I'm so glad I did too because it works so well. Way more of this part than I'd like to admit ends up being redone. As someone who wouldn't identify as an expert modeler by any means, I kept realizing while I was modeling that the piece I just made could have been done so much better and simpler, and I found myself going back and forth redoing things for a while. One of the things I spent literal hours on that I ended up scrapping was the details on her face. My first approach resulted in such a ridiculous amount of polygons that even my beefy computer was like, dude, really? I found it much easier to draw out the details flat, solidify them, and then shrink wrap them to the body so they'd conform to her shape. From there, it was just continuing to make little tweaks and adjustments until Miku was good to go. And of course, every figure collector knows a good figure needs a good base. I knew I wanted her base to be a TV, so I loaded in an image of the album cover and used a similar approach. Once we have everything exported, we can bring it over into Cura. Cura is a design software that takes certain types of 3D files and converts it into G-code, so the printer can print it out. Well, it looks like things are gonna take a while, so let's get printing. So, my first attempt at printing went pretty yikes. You can see there's a lot of little filament, spaghetti bits, and some weird warping. While things came out decent enough, I was able to find lots of little problems I would have to go in and fix in Blender, like the faceplate falling out and the antenna looking a bit too thin. And I also quickly learned the supports were going to give me a lot more sanding to do. So I made the decision to slice all of the pieces in half so they could lay flat on the print bed. It's definitely exciting to see it start coming together, so let's press on! Welcome to my very messy workstation. It's time for one of the messiest parts of this process, sanding. I only sand a few pieces on camera because this isn't the best spot for me to do it, but I still wanted to show you at least a little bit of what the process looks like. And whenever you're doing any type of craft that involves sanding or particles flying into the air, make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area, wearing the proper protection, and read all the instructions before you start. I have 4 different grains of sandpaper that I use. Starting with the roughest grain, I take my time getting rid of as much of the icky stuff as I can before I start going in with the other sandpapers, slowly smoothing out any imperfections. Now it's time for the part that really pulls everything together, painting. Off screen, I sprayed all of my pieces with primer and then let them dry. For the paint, I'm going to be using Posca paint pens. I was worried I was going to have to go out and buy a bunch of new paints, but thankfully, all of Miku's colors wound up matching perfectly with the Posca paint pens I previously purchased. Whew, try saying that 5 times fast. I wound up switching back and forth between using the marker itself to paint the piece and using a teeny tiny paintbrush. I also move around between the different pieces so I can let some dry, while I add more paint to others. A painting tip I picked up is to start with the lightest colors first, and work your way up to the darkest, being black. It's okay if you're like me and get black paint absolutely everywhere you shouldn't. Just cover it up with a couple layers of the original color. I think the most intimidating pieces for me to paint were the faces. Sure, I had my raised reference lines I just had to paint over, but they were still super tiny and gonna be really easy to mess up. I end up doing most of the painting for them off camera because I wound up just getting my face really, really close to them. With Miku painted, it's time to paint the stand. This part was so fun. I loved adding in each of the colors and making it really look like a TV. I did realize at this point I think I somehow made the bottom buttons mirrored. But we'll pretend that didn't happen. Once everything is dry, it can be sprayed with a sealer. For the TV screen, I go over it with a high gloss varnish so I can make it shiny like a real TV. And here's our finished Static Miku figure. I'm overall so happy with how she came out. Sure, there's little things here and there I might change if I did it again, but as the first project I've even attempted at this scope, I think I did awesome. I think my favorite part about her is definitely her twin tails. Between the shape and the color, they're just so cute and fun. How do you think I did? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more silly art videos. Thanks for watching and have a good one. Bye bye!